Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering the original Good Burger movie.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? Now, when the sequel to this film was announced, many fans, including us, went to rewatch the original and relive the fun and nostalgia of it. It's safe to say it's still one of Nickelodeon's best and funniest movies ever. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notifications to future podcasts, roll to pause videos.
And thank you for joining us, subscribing, sharing our videos, and so much more. We really appreciate all you do. You are awesome.
Yes.
So this movie, I remember when I first saw it. I absolutely loved it. I could not get tired of saying that over and over and over. I know they thought we were losing our minds. But it was, I don't know, it was so simple.
Yes.
But it was so funny.
It was just a slogan for a fast food joint, and it somehow became memorable.
Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Good Burger, it's a 1997 American teen comedy film. I don't know why it's called American teen comedy.
Was it a British teen comedy?
A Nickelodeon film. It should have been.
Yeah, it's its own category.
It was actually directed by Brian Robbins and written by Dan Schneider with Kevin Koplo and Heath Seifert.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before, of course, everything came out. Don't judge this movie based on that.
That's right.
This movie catapulted all of the people who were in it that were younger into stardom. Mm-hmm. And they are still stars now.
Yeah.
This was a spinoff of a comedy sketch that was done on All That, which is a series that these teens did stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. Sketches like SNL.
Yeah.
And then, ironically, Kenan Thompson ended up on Saturday Night Live later.
Right.
But it follows Dexter Reed, who's a high school student who takes a job at a fast food restaurant called Good Burger.
Yes.
To pay off damages he made to his teacher's car. And he and Ed, his dim-witted co-worker, and that's how he's described, stumble upon an evil plot by a rival fast food restaurant.
Who was just plankton.
Yes, this movie was just so funny. And Kenan and Kel worked so well off each other.
Right.
And I think that's how they ended up with the movie.
Right.
Because that was the standout sketch. Anytime you watched it, you were just waiting for them to do another sketch for it.
Yes. And what's one of the best things about watching it is that, you wish you had more comedies like this now. They kind of did almost whatever they wanted. They didn't go over the top and try to do something outside of what you knew from the sketches. They kept it simple. They kept it hilarious. And the outrageous part would come from the reactions of how the people acted. Like, the people working there aren't all right in the head. Some of the customers really aren't right sometimes. And in some ways they make the food was like questionable. But people still eat there.
And they had some old Hollywood stars in it who we'll mention later. But again, this was the vehicle for all of the teens that were in it. Now, this was originally released in theaters. It runs 95 minutes. It was released in July of 1997. It had a budget of $8.5 million, which, if you think back to that time, that was quite a bit of money to put into a live-action movie, even a Nickelodeon movie.
Right.
And it grossed over $23 million at the theater. So
wow,
it was a good idea and one of the best choices Nickelodeon made.
Right. As you watch it, I know it probably seems like at first it's just some randomness going on and there's no plot to it. But again, it's like Plankton as a human and this guy. And his strategy is to just make big burgers, basically. Mondo burgers. Big jumbo Mondo burgers. And the bigger they are, people want to keep eating them over and over again. Like, well, that's a meal in itself. And this guy gets so pissed every time the Good Burger does well. And one of the funniest things is that it's like when Liam Neeson in Lego Movie had a chair on standby, and he would kick it and throw it whenever he was angry, so he didn't hit the person, he hit the chair. And here he kept destroying the TV, destroying the chair, flipping the table. He would have these tantrums and things every time Good Burger kept making out well.
And I think you're right, because SpongeBob came out 2 years later, so he definitely is the inspiration from Plankton.
Yes.
There's no way he wasn't.
Yes.
He absolutely had to be.
Yes. And it was so so funny because his henchmen, even you could catch them laughing a few times. They had to nod, but you could tell they were just laughing every time he spazzed out. It was funny.
Now, one thing that really made it also popular was that it was filmed in 6 weeks, a very short time.
Oh, wow.
And it was recorded along Glendora Avenue in West Covina, California, including in a restaurant currently known as Peter's El Loco. So it was a local movie recorded for posterity. I mean, everything was done there. And just think about it, 6 weeks to film a movie.
Yeah.
Why can't some other Hollywood studios do this? And I know people were not talking movies with special effects and blockbusters like that, but they should be able to do a movie in 6 weeks. They did it. And they did it with teens, not even seasoned actors.
Yeah, true. And like you said, not a bunch of special effects and CGI and all that. They did it very simple. And this is something like you would see Disney Channel used to do, where they would have these slightly slice of life but still crazy type films. And they would be so good you would expect to see them at the theaters because they took care into the writing. And here it seems like it's random, but the stuff is hilarious. They really wrote this script not just to be like a sketch extended. Well, yeah, a sketch that's been extended and not feel like you're just dragging it out. It's like they just took advantage of the runtime and put in as many jokes as possible and make it hilarious as possible. You believe this could be an actual place you may or may not want to eat at.
Well, critics pretty much panned this movie. But what worked for it again are the people who were fans of the show, all that, fans of the sketch. It worked. We loved it. We didn't care what they said. And all these years later, when I watched it again with you, it was still just as funny. And I've seen it multiple times before. Right. But it was no less funny watching it now than it was then. Right. So it is I guess you could say, a pop culture masterpiece of its time.
Yes. And you don't have a whole lot of movies that do that now, whether it be from Nickelodeon or Disney or some other company. You don't have ones that just let it rip and just write comedy, make it clever, make it hilarious, is where you're laughing the whole time. Everyone wants to, most people try to be more like, I don't know, efficient. Like they just try to make fun of what's popular now, what's trending now, try to appeal to kids who are not even the target audience, or they just flat out say, oh, we don't need the comedy, you want to take this seriously, and bring in something dark and say, well, this is what it should have been. They didn't do that here, nor in the sequel. Like, well, we got to make it serious. You take it seriously. Why? It's a comedy.
Absolutely. I agree. One thing I have to say, and again, this is before the scandal, Schneider and Robbins were known for having the pulse on what younger people wanted. And they were batting 1,000. Show after show after show after show was a hit. Originally, both of them had been on a show called Head of the Class, starring Howard Hessman, back in the 80s, late 80s. And I think they became friends then. And this is how they ended up doing the writing. Okay. Now, it's unfortunate that how this ended up, because they really were masters of giving you what you wanted. Right. When they had an audience, as you said, they stuck to what the audience wanted. Right. They wanted humor, they gave them humor. They wanted this, they wanted that, they gave it to them. And they didn't try to change the audience or tell the audience, no, you are bigoted and whatever because you don't like what I have. I want to give you this, and because you refuse it, you're a jerk. No. This is what you want. We got more of that, and we'll give you more of that. And they were masters of it. Right. So let's go over the cast, and then we'll mention the sequel quickly, which we have watched as well. Right. We had Kenan Thompson as Dexter Reed. He was 16. Kel Mitchell as Ed, who was 15 at the time, and he was the cashier. We had Abe Vigoda, who was Hollywood royalty, as Otis. He was the Good Burger employee who worked the deep fryers, and he was a really older guy. Yes. And Dan Schneider also starred himself as Mr. Bally, the owner and manager of Good Burger. He had Shar Jackson as Monique, a Good Burger employee and Dexter's love interest. Jan Schweitzerman as Kurt Boswell, who was the owner of the Mondo Burger. Yes. Linda Cardinelli, who became famous to both of us through regular shows. Yes. But she was on here as Heather, a demented Hills patient who who had a crush on Ed.
Oh my God.
Sinbad the comedian is Mr. Wheat, his accident-prone teacher.
Oh, he was
Ron
stuck in the
Lester is
70s.
Spatch, yes, the head fry cook. Josh Server is Fizz, the drive-thru employee. Jenny Schreiber is Dee Dee. She was a female employee and a vegetarian. You had Shaquille O'Neal appearing as himself. You had George Clinton, Mr. Funkmaster, as Dancing Crazy, a mental illness patient.
Oh, God.
Robert Wall as an angry customer. Marcus Houston as Jake. And Marcus Houston was on Sister Sister and also became part of a group later on. J. August Richards is Griffin. Hamilton Von Watts is Troy. Floyd Levine as the Ice Cream Man. Laurie Denberg as Connie Muldoon. Carmen Bakar as the Dominion Hills Dancer. Kelly Devine as the Dominion Hills Dancer.
They're all the dancers.
Magdalene as a reporter, and Brian Peck as an upset customer. So this was just perfectly done.
Yes.
It's what we wanted. It's what we got. And still grateful that it came out. And even more grateful that we got a sequel.
Yes.
In
after
2023.
After all this time.
26 years later.
Yes. And we weren't sure how it was going to go because the track record for a lot of these sequels or remakes or revivals usually is not good. They try to change what worked, tell you you're wrong, as you were saying, try to modernize it for other audiences. And we did watch the sequel, and while it was a little different in the beginning, it slowly got back to what you knew and loved about Good Burger and of being hilarious. Still not the first one, but the sequel is worth watching.
Absolutely. And one thing that counted against it is released on Paramount.
Yeah, for some reason they made a Paramount Plus movie because they didn't think it was going to do well at the theaters because it's a sequel.
But it shouldn't have been in theaters. They should have just put it on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
That would have been the best thing. Release it on Nickelodeon, gotten those views and ratings.
Yes.
And then kept releasing. They put that darn Monster High G3 crap on.
Yeah.
They could have put this on.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then everyone would have gotten to see it. But now you've only got people that either seen have Paramount, or they got to see it like us when it was free.
Yeah.
No, we saw it on DVD.
On DVD,
Sorry.
yeah.
So if you don't have DVD or Paramount, you don't get to see it. And that was one of the dumbest moves Paramount and Nickelodeon ever made.
Yeah.
But we do recommend, if you haven't seen it, watch it. A lot of the original stars return, including, of course, Keenan and Kel. And as Rascal said, it is worth watching.
Yes.
So if you've seen Good Burger, home of the Good Burger, let us know in the comments below. Did you see it when it originally came out at the theaters? Did you see it on DVD? Have you seen it when it aired numerous times on Nickelodeon? Let us know in the comments. If you haven't seen it, no matter what your age is, you need to see this movie.
Yes.
It's appropriate for all ages. It's just fun.
Yes.
Then come back. Tell us what you think. We know you're going to love it.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and looking videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, everything that you do. We look forward to you being here, and we thank you so much for allowing us to share our joy with you.
Yes.
And thank you for brightening up our lives.
Yes.
As always,
you are special. Thank you so much for watching Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace and
Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?